Hey everybody, today I'm going to work on my dome bald cypress bonsai. And this thing is huge. The pot is 33 inches across. So I will not be doing any root pruning. But what I want to do is I want to take every tree and remove all of the leaders except for one. So as you can see on this one right here, it's obviously there's two leaders. There's actually a third one behind. So I want to take off all but one. And so this one here, there's three. One is fairly heavy, the two are thinner. And here's another one where there's just two. And typically, where I live, my bald cypress do not go completely dormant. But we had some very cold temperatures. And although the trees have survived, and I will take some cuttings just to show you because I don't want to move the camera. Of course, when I move away from the camera, then you can't hear me. But if we look like right here, and there's another one right here, you can see that they are beginning to sprout little tiny bits of green. So this is the perfect time to do this. So the only tools I'm really going to need is my clippers, like so. And my concave cutters, which are ancient, 30 years old at least, but they still work. And I don't think I'm going to do the whole entire tree on the video, because it's the same procedure over and over and over again. So let's take this one right here. So I've got this leader here that has come from where I've cut it. But I have two smaller leaders that are lower. And because this tree is right in front, and I want my dome to go like this, where it comes like this, and then higher, and then back down, I am actually going to take this one to that lower leader. So I'm going to come in here and chop it to right there. Then I'm going to take that leader and shorten it. And so we have the history of this planting is in 2023, early 2024. I planted a whole bunch of seed just right in this pot. Very few of them germinated. And what was really weird is the ones that did germinate were all around the perimeter. And I left those there. And then I added more seed. So I have numerous very thick trees right around the perimeter. In a perfect world, you really don't want that. However, I decided to keep them. So this is a perfect example of, this is a perfect example of a very thick leader, very thick tree. So on this one here, I am going to take off the two thinnest leaders, but then shorten the tree still quite short. And now this one only has one leader, so I'm just going to cut it to there. Here's another one with a fairly thick leader, and it's producing a knob where I cut it, so I'm going to try to reduce that knob and then cut it way back. And here's another one almost right next to it, but I think I'm going to go lower. I'm going to go to this guy. Instead of the one that was, I could have gone to this one, so I actually cut it even shorter. And then it's just a simple process of doing that with all of them. Here is one that, once again, two that are very close together. This one has one pretty good sized leader, so I'm going to cut it to there. This is a much smaller tree, so I need to get rid of that little knob. And then cut it shorter. And so this one here has, oh man, 4 or 5 different leaders and 2 that are competing. So I'm going to take off all the little ones and then save the one that's more in front. And it also needs a little concave cutter work to keep there from being a knob. And then cut it down. And I'm going to cut it a little higher than these guys, but not that much. So we're really going to be taking everything down quite a bit. Here's another one. Now it has a fairly strong leader, but there's this little guy in front, and I'm going to cut it to that little guy for a little bit more perspective. So I'm going to take it down to there. And then cut him to right there. That'll give us more taper on the trees. Here's another little one that really has just one leader. This guy here has a couple of very small leaders. And then cut it to there. And it's just a matter of going all the way around the tree. The tree, all the way around the grove. So here's another one that has 3 leaders all coming out of basically the cut. So I think I'm going to save the smaller one. And then cut it to about there. And here's another one that only has 1 leader, pretty strong, so I'm going to cut it short. This guy has 1 leader, but then I cut it again, so I'm going to leave the one in front since the tree is in front. And I'm going to take the thinnest leader on this one and cut him back to there. And it also has the potential to form a very big knob, so I'm going to shave that down so the knob won't be so noticeable. So it's just a matter of doing that all the way around. Taking all the leaders off except the one I want to keep, and then shortening those leaders. So as you can see, we're going to have a pretty short bunch of little stubby trees, but they will grow in no time at all. Another thing that I've rectified it a little bit, but the main tree, which is this one right here, was leaning quite a bit. It was leaning way over like that. So I'm going to push him back and then add some soil down in there and keep him straight. So once again, this tree here has a leader coming off from where I cut it, but it has another leader that's to the front that I think will be better, so I'm going to take that other little nub off. And this procedure I'll probably have to repeat for 4, 5, 6 years. What I really want is every tree to have some decent taper, but then all the branches coming like little miniature formal uprights. And so here's another one. Are we still in the frame? We are. I don't think I need my hat. It's kind of the day where it's cloudy a lot and then it gets sunnier. So take him off. You can see where the cut is very flat, so that's going to produce a big knob. So just cut that away so it's got more taper. Cut to here. Some of them just need one cut because there's really only 1 leader, and it's basically in the place that I want. So and they're definitely beginning to sprout. There's a couple other little sprouts at the end of this one. You can see them all there, just little bits of green. So winter is over, at least as far as this tree is concerned. I think I'll go here on this one. The leader is, the strongest leader is here, but I want this little leader because each tree on the end is typically in a normal grove. In nature, the trees on the end are moving out because they're being outcompeted by the trees in the middle. And there's a bunch of little guys right there. Take this one. This one is tall enough where I'm going to cut all the leaders off. And just keep at it. Till all the trees have been shortened. Pretty short. Probably going to leave the main tree a little taller, but I'm still going to cut quite a bit of it off. So cut it to about right there, even though that's going to be the main tree, which will be, in theory, the thickest around and the tallest. Although, because I planted those first seeds, and the 4 or 5 that did germinate were all around the perimeter, like this guy here is just about as thick as the main tree. But leaving this tree be bigger and keeping this guy much shorter will mean that this will not be so out of proportion as it is right now. And I really find it very interesting that the placement of these trees is just where I jam the seeds into the ground. So it's really rather interesting. I did have a big space right here where the squirrels came in when they were tiny seedlings, and they said, "Oh look, somewhere to dig." And so they killed all the little seedlings in here, and this space here that you see right here with no trees at all was also the doings of the squirrels. But I kind of decided to leave that space open because the open space actually gives you more of illusion of a forest and a little more naturalness too. So where are we going here? So I'm cutting some trees where the main leader was at the old cut, and then on a lot of them I'm cutting a little bit extra off. So I'm taking just a little bit of a stump. Like this one here, it's just a tiny little bit of the stump, but you can see that I took that little tiny bit of the stump off. Let's see what we got here. Here's another one with two really heavy-duty leaders that are both competing. And I want the leader, since this tree is to the outside, I want the outside leader. So I'm going to cut that other leader off and leave the trunk with a little bit of an angle so that you don't get the knob. And there still may be some knobs that are going to form. And well, that'll just have to become part of the design. So where are we here? Cut these little guys off here. And cut him to there. And then cut that to there. So we have some interesting movement in that guy. And I may not be able to catch all the really little tiny growth. And if some of that stays on, it's not that big of a deal. But it's already looking pretty good. And there may be some competition where some of the weaker trees may actually die off over time, but there's so many in here that I don't think that's going to be that big of a problem. Even if one or two very thin trees that are not as aggressive die away, there'll still be plenty of trees in here to create the grove. But I'm trying to make them a little bit irregular so it's not a perfect dome. So some are a little bit taller, some are a little bit shorter. As my neighbor is doing something, sounds like a grinding concrete or something. I don't know if you can hear that. It's pretty loud. There's another one where I took the knob off. Another one where the main leader is going to come off, and I'm going to leave that little tiny bit. Having a hard time getting in there. So how are we looking? Can I just continue on? we shall continue on. Here's another tree that's pretty good size. The main leader is up here, but I'm going to cut it down to this leader right here. So there I really took the stump. You know, I could have very easily just taken these two little guys off and used this as the top of the tree, but I decided to go even lower. Because remember, these are only 2 years old. So in 20 years, if you've left things too tall, then the proportionality may start to become, won't be as pleasing to the eyeball. So cut that guy. Here's another one with almost 2 perfectly competing leaders. But since this tree is to the outside, I'm going to take the inside off. And then there's 2 more leaders there, so I'm going to take the inside of that one off and then cut the whole thing back. And over here I've got some very funky roots. There's an oak tree, which is a weed. Goodbye. I don't need any more oak trees. Let's cut that one to there. And I'm going to add some more soil to the whole thing. I'm not going to root prune, but I'm going to add some more soil. Use the correct tool. I'm trying to use a concave cutter to do the job of the scissors. So I'm going to try to get some of these guys to be more straight up and down, because they tended to curve, and I don't know why, but they did. And bald cypress grows so quickly that in no time at all they'll be back up to the height what they were before I started this. Here's another one where I'm going to take the heavier leader off and choose the smaller leader, cut it so that the odds of a knob forming are less. And then take that off and then shorten him. Should I go this way with this guy? Why not? Here's another one. If you choose the branch that's facing forward, then even if a knob forms, it'll be less noticeable. Hopefully it's not getting too boring. Of course, I find that most people leave my videos after only about 2 minutes. So only the diehards that really want to see what this looks like at the end are watching. Everybody else is gone to wherever else they go. I don't know. When YouTube gives you the analytics of how many people have stayed on your video for how long. They don't tell you where they went. They just ain't on your channel no more. And that's okay. I'm going to go to here. Well, my goal is working pretty well. It's doing exactly what I wanted. And a lot of the leaves that came off of this guy have fallen out of the pot, but I think I'm just going to take the extra soil that I'm going to add and just put it right on those leaves. Those leaves will decompose into the other soil, and should add some nutrients. So I'm not going to try to like rake all the leaves away like this and then put new soil down. Back when I was a landscaper, I remember I had a customer who made me do that. She made me rake up all the oak leaves and then add cypress mulch back to where the oak leaves used to be. And I always used to say, why don't you just leave the leaves? But she was having none of that. And there's actually even a lot of the little stems and stuff that are just laying on the ground. I think I'm going to leave those too. My background is getting in my way. Oh, and the sun's out. There's my shadow. Here's another one where I'm going to go deeper. Take that guy off. There's another one. Paradoxically, if you leave the thicker growth on, then the taper of the finished tree would be less. So, okay. So I think I have finished with the trees. And I didn't notice any tree that was dead. Some of them were still bare, but no dead trees. So there we go. And now I'm looking over here, and I think I need to go a little shorter with all of this stuff here. Just to make it more. And once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. There can be some trees that are a little taller, some trees that are a little smaller, some trees that are a little thinner, some trees that are a little thicker. If I had to do it all over again, when I did the second planting of the seed, I would have removed all the larger trees that germinated from the first batch. Here's another one here. There's a couple more in the back. But I think that's pretty good. I want to give the main tree a little bit of a angle on the old cut. Keep the knob from forming as much as I can. So there we go. My Cypress dome. The spring house cleaning. Chopping it way back. Trying to create that dome look. And I don't even think I really need fertilizer. I am going to add some fresh soil. Especially like a lot of these guys, the roots are exposed quite a bit. It's also a good time to pull weeds. So I think throwing this new soil on here is probably not going to excite anybody. So I'm going to end this video right here. So thanks for watching. Oh, look at that. He fell down, go boom. Well, we'll keep it like that. It may heal. And if it doesn't, it'll pop out from here. I mean, in theory, I could have taken everything down, you know, to like here. I mean, everything. Every single tree, even the main tree, down to like there. And they would have resprouted, believe me. Cypress sprout off of old wood very readily. So there you go. Even like this, it kind of looks kind of cool. It almost looks like wintry. Hey, maybe that's because it still is. Yeah, we had 2 days in a row where the temperatures got down to 25, and I had some major damage on some things. I pulled a lot of my trees into the garage, which was just a huge amount of work that wore me out, since I'm going to be 70 in June and I have a bad leg. So that was pretty interesting, hauling virtually my entire collection into the garage. But anyway, I did not move this guy at all, and you can see the main tree is popping all up and down the trunk. So, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. And leave a comment. I haven't been doing many videos, so my algorithm, my watch hours and all the rest of that blah 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 that YouTube demands has gone way down, but that's okay. There you go. Cypress dome. Thanks for watching.